What's up, y'all? It's CC, the creator of Vibes of Fiction, which is a series of blogs and videos that analyzes and alchemizes fiction. And funny enough, I'm kind of talking about that right now, but not. Today, I actually have a sudden goal. I need to come up with $700. And with that being said, my commissions are open on Artistry, but go link in my bio. I made it so easy instead of having to go through the whole website and just stand the third. So yeah, link in bio. I do portraits, character illustrations. Oh, and I recently added, if you've been following me for a while and you've seen my digital abstractions, I recently added that too because I've gotten so good at them. And I don't know, I just want to share that with people. But that is actually not what I wanted to talk about specifically. I want to talk about inner speech bubble. Inner speech bubble is a thought rewiring technique that I came up with. It's actually my first fiction alchemical formula. Inner speech bubble method is only $5. It's up on my website, my official site, which is also linked in my bio. And you're probably thinking $5 and this thought rewiring technique. I know that's low, but I believe that stuff like this needs to be accessible, especially after an election. Tapping into your own power is so important more than ever. But first, let me get into fiction alchemy, because if you're new to me, and even if you've been following me for a while, I don't really talk about it too often, but I need to. Like, my content will be wrapping up in time, but today I'm just in dire need. But like I said, I don't actually feel anxious because of this thought rewiring technique. But first, let me break down fiction alchemy. Alchemy is actually goes all the way back to medieval times, fiction aside. It's the first variation of chemistry. It mainly focused on transmuting metal into gold. And if you actually read Full Metal Alchemist, you're probably hip on the Philosopher's Stone. That's actually a very real concept. Like, it didn't just start with that book. Alchemy is a real thing. Practitioners of alchemy, alchemists, they realized quickly that they weren't just learning how to transmute matter, they were also learning how to transmute the spiritual development of man. They were becoming self actualized. But where inner speech bubble comes in, I realize in today's age, the entertainment industry has a major impact on interpersonal and on economic levels. And it's already been proven if you looked at any media literacy books, classes, that media quite literally is programming and priming people towards thinking a specific way. Now, this doesn't always have to be bad, and it's not always good either. And this can be towards many different things. That's why we have things such as neuromarketing or NLP. I can give you countless examples where this has and has not worked out in good or bad favor, but I'm proposing ditch all of that and you have a balance of power through having your own way of alchemizing fiction. If stories already alter us, I'm proposing that fiction alchemy is defined as the process of transmuting your inner state to another state through the lens of storytelling. Which brings me to what exactly inner speech bubble is. Inner speech bubble is broken down into 6 steps. But I gotta kind of tell you where this all started so you get a little bit more insight. With my first focus of Vibes of Fiction being comics, I found something very interesting about them. Comics use speech bubbles all the time, and this is a fundamental that translates no matter if we're talking about manga, or other types of comics. They vary in shape, style, because they convey different things such as tone, maybe even different types of people, and sometimes even creatures. But the secret of a speech bubble that relies into how they connect with our brains. Speech bubbles do 5 major things in our heads. Number one, they set up the author's authority. You know the vibration of an author after you look at all the speech bubbles combined. You can, if you break it down, you can see exactly who the author is. They are putting their stamp in the world when they release their books. Two, Speech bubbles have an authority within themselves. They establish what is important and what you're going to remember. When people use the word canon, they're probably going to bring up a page and touch on this speech bubble here, here, and here, and that is going to prove their point because it's canon. 3. A collection of speech bubbles convey an overarching belief of a character and character archetypes. So we look at the hero's journey, or look at another one, the strong black woman trope. There are many different archetypes that you can find within stories. But if you strip away all the art and just look at the speech bubbles, you now have a whole entire belief system that's just been established in a fictional world. But your mind, the human brain, doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So when you see this glaring speech bubble that acts almost like a stop sign in your head, like it says, "Ooh, this dialogue is important," your brain takes it as fact, even though you consciously know that this is just a book. 4. It stimulates our imagination as we have to connect the dots of other context clues from the surrounding artwork, such as body language, expressions, maybe other actions that happen in between things being said. All of that we have to kind of make up because the speech bubble itself is just words. 5, which is the most important to me, speech bubbles emulate human inner dialogue and thoughts. It's very, very similar to how we think in real life already. So I got to thinking, if speech bubbles work like this, can using this imagery change or our relationship with rewiring our thoughts? Out came the inner speech bubble method. Now, I'm going to put a caveat. This is just one way to use inner speech bubbles. I use it all the time in many different ways. But this was the first way I have ever came up with, which trickled down into everything else I do. And yes, I have radically changed as a person since I came up with this formula. But it's up on my website, $5. I need uh at least 100 or so people to go ahead and take the leap. But I will say, sometime later this month, I will be having a free 3-week course going over the whole thing, and it's going to be like a really cool transformative experience, and it will be free. But if you don't want to wait till all of that, the inner speech bubble is on my website. And like I said, I do have a goal that I have to get to today, so it's very important. And yeah, thank you. If you have any questions or anything, link them below in the comments. I will respond most definitely.